Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome to this Friday's episode of Sports Corner. I hope you all had a great holiday season. I'm Cole Young, and I figured I would keep the annual tradition going of doing a year in review episode. I know that there were several important football games this week, so I'll cover those at the very end. But let's dive right into the highlights from 2024. Starting in January, we had the college and NFL football playoffs. In the NCAA, Jim Harbaugh led Michigan to their first national title win since 1997 when they rolled right over the Washington Huskies in the national championship 34-13. Harbaugh then left Michigan to take over the head coaching job for the LA Chargers. Harbaugh wasn't the only one, as several iconic coaches moved on from their teams. On January 10th, Nick Saban retired from Alabama, Pete Carroll was fired by the Seahawks, and early the next morning, Bill Belichick parted ways with the Patriots. In the NFL playoffs, yet again, the Kansas City Chiefs and San Francisco 49ers punched their tickets to the Super Bowl for a rematch. In early February, the Chiefs walked off the 49ers 25-22 in overtime to win their second straight Super Bowl, becoming the NFL's first back-to-back champion since the Patriots in the early 2000s and cementing their place as one of the league's greatest dynasties. They also have a good chance of making it a three-peat this year. Outside of football, on February 15th, Caitlin Clark broke the Division I women's scoring record with a 45-point game that surpassed the record with 3,569 points. In the racing world, F1 was shocked by an announcement that Lewis Hamilton would be leaving Mercedes to join Ferrari after winning 7 world titles with Mercedes. In March, Caitlin Clark broke another record. 2 weeks after breaking the women's scoring record, Clark brought her career total to 3,951 points as she passed Pete Maravich as the NCAA's all-time scoring leader, dropping 35 points in the final regular season game of her collegiate career. Speaking of basketball and records, all-time NBA scoring champion LeBron James reached a new milestone. James became the first player in NBA history to score 40,000 career points. James reached the threshold a little more than a year after setting the NBA's all-time scoring record. In the golf world, Scottie Scheffler won at Bay Hill for his first victory of the year, kicking off the best PGA Tour season since prime Tiger Woods. More on him later. And, as always, March Madness tipped off for both men and women. Both Madness tournaments came to a close in April when South Carolina beat Iowa 87-75 to become the 10th undefeated national champion in women's college basketball history. The game averaged 18.7 million viewers and peaked at 24 million, making it the most watched women's basketball game ever. For the men, UConn beat Purdue 75-60 to become the first back-to-back men's basketball national champion since Florida in 2006-2007. This was UConn's 5th men's basketball championship since 2000. No other school has more than 3 this century. Scottie Scheffler continued his incredible year when he joined Tiger Woods as the only golfers to win the Masters and Players in the same year. To end the month, we had the NFL Draft, which saw 6 quarterbacks taken in the first round for the first time in 40 years. In May, the sports world slowed down a little bit, but there were still some major headlines. Manchester City clinched their 4th consecutive Premier League title, becoming the first club in the 124-year history of English football to win 4 straight top-flight titles. As a quick note, Manchester City's dominance is coming to a screeching halt as they are struggling this season. Also in May, we witnessed the closest finish in Kentucky Derby history when Mystic Dan, an 18-1 long shot, edged both Sierra Leone and Forever Young by a literal nose to win the 150th Kentucky Derby. Also in May, the Pac-12 Conference played its final championship game, or so we thought. In June, we got the NBA and NHL finals. The Celtics beat the Mavericks in 5 games to win their record 18th NBA championship and first since 2008. On the ice, the Florida Panthers won their first Stanley Cup ever, beating the Oilers in Game 7 to avoid a historic collapse after Edmonton had fought back from a 3-0 series deficit. We also had the College Baseball World Series and Softball World Series, and Oklahoma completed the first 4P in Women's College World Series history. Back in the golf world, Bryson DeChambeau won his 2nd U.S. Open after Rory McIlroy missed 2 short putts on the final 3 holes. Halfway there, July was a historic month for sports. We saw Spain win their record 4th European Championship and Argentina win their record 16th Copa America within hours of each other, bringing an end to the summer of soccer. Then, personally, my favorite part of the year, the 2024 Paris Olympics opened. Legends like Simone Biles, Katie Ledecky, Steph Curry, LeBron James, Noah Lyles, Tara Davis, Sydney McLaughlin, Scottie Scheffler, and so many other incredible American Olympians showed up in the biggest moments on the biggest stage and brought home the most Olympic medals. Outside of the Olympics, on the tennis courts, Carlos Alcaraz also set some records. Alcaraz beat Novak Djokovic in the Wimbledon final, becoming the sixth man in the Open era to win the Channel Slam, which means Alcaraz won back-to-back on the clay of Roland Garros for the French Open and then the grass at the All England Club for Wimbledon. In August, the Olympics closed. Shohei Ohtani then stole the spotlight in his first season with the Dodgers. The two-way superstar became the sixth player in MLB history to join the prestigious 40 home run, 40 stolen bases club. However, that accolade didn't last long. Just about 2 or 3 weeks later, Ohtani achieved MLB's first 50 home run, 50 stolen bases season with perhaps the greatest offensive performance ever. 6 for 6 with 3 home runs, 2 doubles, 2 steals, 10 RBIs, and 4 runs. Sticking with baseball in September, the Oakland A's played their last game ever in Oakland as they will move to Sacramento for 3 years before their brand new Las Vegas stadium is complete. The White Sox also lost their 121st game, breaking the record set by the 1962 Mets for the most losses in an MLB season. Asia Wilson broke the WNBA single-season scoring record, and in the same week, the NFL season began. The Eagles beat the Packers in the first ever NFL game in Brazil, and the Commanders and Bengals played the first NFL game without a punt or a turnover since 1940. Moving into October, I said it throughout that whole month, but it was the month of champions. The World Series began and ended, and the Dodgers beat the Yankees in 5 games to win their 8th World Series, matching their rival Giants for 5th most all time, just behind the Yankees, Cardinals, Red Sox, and the A's. The Liberty beat the Lynx in a winner-take-all Game 5, finally capturing their first WNBA championship in their 6th trip to the finals. And on October 28th, we had the rare sports equinox, where we had the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, and even MLS games all on the same day. This was just the 31st time in history this had happened. Also this month was the Maryland Miracle Hail Mary from Jaden Daniels, and the first time ever that LeBron James and his son Bronny shared the court together. November wasn't the most eventful month in sports, but NFL and college football still reigned supreme. We saw the end of Ashton Genty and Travis Hunter's historic college football seasons. In the NFL, we watched teams clinch playoffs and fall out of playoffs, and go on unprecedented losing streaks like the Saints, Giants, and Bears. Outside of football, the Winnipeg Jets won 15 of their first 16 games, the best start in NHL history. Cleveland Cavaliers started the season 15-0, tied for the second best start in NBA history. And Max Verstappen clinched his 4th straight F1 title with a win at the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Just last month in December, we had the start of the first ever 12-team college football playoff. Travis Hunter won the Heisman Trophy, and the Chargers exploited an odd NFL rule when they made the first free kick attempt since 1976. The LA Galaxy beat the New York Red Bulls 2-1 for their record 6th MLS Cup title and their first since 2014. And I mentioned it a few weeks back, but 6-time Super Bowl champion Bill Belichick agreed to become the head coach at North Carolina. That brings us to the first week of 2025. The NFL playoff picture is just about set, but I'll cover that more next week. No NFL picks for me this week since a large number of teams will be resting their starters in preparation for the playoffs. Which means I finished my season going 4-0 one last time. I finished with a record of 42-10, and over the course of all the years of my picks, I have a lifetime record of 118, 41-1. Not bad at all. Next week, I'll see how accurate I was with my playoff predictions. More importantly, this week was the college football playoffs. On Tuesday, we had the quarterfinal rounds begin when number 6 Penn State and number 3 Boise State squared off in the Fiesta Bowl. The underdog Broncos fought hard until the end, but Penn State ultimately came out on top 31-14 behind their high-powered offense. The Nittany Lions will now move on to the semifinal round to face Notre Dame. Notre Dame upset the Georgia Bulldogs in the Sugar Bowl yesterday and now move on to face Penn State next week. We had 2 other major games on New Year's Day. The highlight of the day was when number 4 Arizona State and number 5 Texas kicked off the day in the Peach Bowl. Texas looked to be in control early, and in the 4th quarter, the Longhorns were up 24-8, and it seemed like this game was over. That's when ASU found life. Running back Cam Scatabo dragged the Sun Devils back into the game after he had a passing and rushing touchdown in the 4th quarter. Each 2-point attempt was successful, and before we knew it, ball game was tied. A few missed field goals by Texas later, and this thriller headed into overtime. ASU scored first, then Texas scored twice, and after 2 overtimes, Texas pulled out a very narrow 39-31 victory. The Longhorns earned their spot in the semifinals, but will have to face Ohio State. The Buckeyes had a tough task in front of them, the undefeated, top-ranked Oregon Ducks. But in probably the biggest shock of the weekend, Ohio State handedly defeated Oregon 41-21. Right before halftime, the Buckeyes led the Ducks 34-0 before Oregon scored their first touchdown as time expired in the first half. Ohio State would score once more to hold off the Ducks and earn their spot in the next round. All semifinal games will be played next weekend, so I'll give more in-depth previews of those bowl games next week. All games are leading up to the College Football National Championship, which will be held on January 20th. 2024 was an incredible year for sports and everything else. Thank you all for tuning in to Sports Corner throughout 2024 and every Friday. 2025 is shaping up to be one to remember, so be sure to tune in every Friday throughout the year for more news, updates, and highlights. I'm Cole Young. Have a great weekend. See you next time.